I don't wake up at 5 a.m. anymore, and I also don't work 12 hours a day. I still work 16 some days. Literally, all I would do is work and sleep. But today I'm going to tell you how I'm making more money than I've ever made while working less hours than I ever have. All this comes down to, I can summarize this video for you. All this comes down to be consistent with the actions that are actually going to move the needle for you. So the way that I plan my weeks is actually not on a day-to-day basis. It's what do I need to do in a week to move the needle, and where does that fit in to my day-to-day life? I have a lot of different clients, but yeah, I'm still able to be extremely efficient with my time and be able to grow my business at the same time. I have another video on this where I talk about 12-week planning, and within that you can actually book a free consultation with me if you want to know how to do this. This is how I closed my first 100K in sales. It was seriously more simple than I ever thought, and all it required was me being disciplined, being consistent and being structured with doing the things that I actually needed to do that I was, in fact, at that point in time, avoiding. But if you are someone where you're overworking, you're overthinking, and you're trying to do everything right, and yet you're making mistakes because you're so tired, this video is for you because, girl, I've been there. I've been there, but now I work at a schedule where it's normally I start around 9, I give myself a chance to actually wake up. If I do have something that I really need to get done, I prefer to get it done the first thing in the morning, so I'll start working earlier, but a lot of times I'm done by around 3 p.m. It honestly depends on when my last call is, but I really don't feel super stressed out. I feel like my hormones are in check, my cycle is regular, all my health markers are good, and I just don't hate my life. I don't hate what I do. I feel like I am pretty stable, pretty supported, and that's what I want out of life, right? So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, then this video is not for you. But if you align with the things that I find really important, this is how I got there. Whereas formerly, I used to get burned out. I used to be kind of a workaholic. So what changed for me was I started chasing my inputs instead of my outputs. Again, I have a video on how I set my 12-week schedule. But instead of focusing on, okay, I want to make 100K in sales and being so scared that that wasn't going to happen, I focused on what I could control. So I went to 2 networking events every single week, 3 sales calls every single week, and did 1 free thing for a client or a potential client every single week. And my goal was to get a 75% and above on those metrics. There are actually a lot of studies that show that if you focus on your inputs rather than your outputs, you're more likely to meet your goals. And the thing I love about this process is if you miss your goals, then you know that your inputs were completely wrong and you have to go a completely different direction, or you need to know that you need to do more. The thing I love about this is such a scientific approach, and it didn't hurt my ego so much. It just kind of was did I do the thing or did I not do the thing? It's the same thing as weighing yourself every day on a diet. You tend to lose more weight if you actually take in the measurements, so that way you get feedback on what you're doing. So my structure is that I normally do take weekends off. I don't work Saturdays and Sundays, but Sunday I do normally plan. I normally have a complete rest day on Saturday, but on Sunday I'll look at what I need to do for that week and I will plan it out. Now, I'm not super consistent with this because this is honestly not something that I measure, but when I do it, I'll for sure get my goals done that week. So normally on either a Sunday morning, which is when my brain works best, or a Sunday afternoon, I'll go through my week and I'll look at the things that I want to be doing for that week and make sure that it's scheduled into my calendar. I don't really care when, as long as it actually happens. And I'm pretty flexible about when I work. Sometimes I'll go to networking events at night, and that's just how I like to work. I know some people, if you have kids, for example, you might not want to work at all at night. And it's just about finding in what slots for you. But having that Sunday to plan really helps at least make actions that are going to get you towards your goals. I feel very fortunate as well because although I do work Monday through Friday, if there's a day that say my dad is in town, that day I might be able to get away with 2 hours of work for a few days, so that way I can spend time with my dad and be low touch point on things. And that works really well for me. My life gets kind of busy, so I love the flexibility to catch up, later. And when you work for yourself, you're really able to do that. So I'm able to fit my life in with my work. There are some times where I do more, maybe I will just work a lot one day, but it doesn't happen too often. But the thing that I love about my work and what I do is I'm able to be very efficient within a short amount of time because I'm doing the things that I am skilled at and that I've really refined over the years to be more efficient. So let's see, what do I actually focus on? By the way, I'm reading my notes because I am not a YouTuber, but I wrote out my notes and I just want to make sure that I'm hitting everything for those of you watching. So the biggest thing about making sure that this works for you is that you have the mindset shift of, I'm not telling you that like working less is better. I'm saying like it aligns more with me and what I want to do. It's more of work on the right things. You know, I think in order to cut my work down, I do say no to a lot of things, but it was a lot of things that will waste my time. Like I feel like I'm naturally a generous person. You probably watching this are too, where you want to give, you want to do things for people. A lot of that stuff that I was doing was like very low paid or free. So definitely not the type of work that I really wanted to be doing long term. And by cutting some of that out, you know, I still feel like I'm generous, but I'm actually able to be more generous with my money when it comes to charity. And then I'm also able to like pick the right projects that align with me in terms of charity. A lot of what allowed me to get to this place is I was able to build really solid relationships to get better contracts. Like I was able to build relationships to the point where I could negotiate things that weren't on the table because people trusted that I was really going to do the best thing possible for them. I wasn't going to leave them out to dry. I was going to do everything impossible to correct my mistakes because I do make them. I have this rule in my head, my value set, that's like, if I make a mistake, I want to leave that person in a better position than if that mistake had never been made in the first place. I also have amazing partnerships, which allows me to lean on other people when I need to, but I also bring in a lot of the business, which also gives me that feeling of like being indispensable to any business. So if you guys do want to learn a little bit about sales, let me know that down in the comments. I can talk about how to sell in a feminine way. But for right now, like just to help you build those relationships, I've put together a guide on how I built my relationships. You know, I'm 27 now. I really started networking when I was around like 20, 22, somewhere like that, like right after I got out of university. And even when I did my placement year in university. So these really helped me build out the network that has grown to the point where I'm able to have this freedom and this flexibility because there's so much trust in me and my work and really overall my integrity and wanting to do right by people. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching and subscribe.